Hello, it's Stacey Holt from Real Estate Excellence. It's the 2nd of April 2025 and just coming up to 7 a.m. when I'm recording this video for you. Now, if you haven't got a lot of time, this information, it cannot be done in a short window, as they say, only do up to 3-minute videos or whatever it may be. So if you haven't got the time and you're interested in this information about the tenancy application form, you might want to hold off till later. So, as many know, the RTA, without notice, nothing untoward, just very unusual, released the RTA new Form 22 application form for tenancy for the laws that commence May 1, 2025. Now, they did that the other day, I think 26th of March or thereabouts. So anyone that's been following my socials, particularly members of Real Estate Excellence, emails, the members group and other, but this is of importance to all of industry. Now, as you may know, that I wrote to the RTA late last week, and I thank the RTA for a response received yesterday, the 1st of April 2025. Now, for now, that what I'm aware of, and I thank again the RTA, the application form will be amended, but probably not to the extent that you and I may like, and there are restrictions limited on the RTA for that reason. One of the concerns, which I blogged on my long-running blog on my website and also have written about previously in the last few days, is in relation to the multiple tenants and the major privacy issues, etc. So I believe that the amendment, I don't know, the amendment, but based on the email from the RTA yesterday in response to my concerns, I believe the amendments will make mention that the tenant can complete multiple forms, which of course we knew they could. But, you know, in these situations, the industry, the sector, tenants, which are part of the sector, we need direction from the government. So if they're going to release forms, that's why, you know, it's critical. Of course, I and of course many of you knew that when we saw the new surprise form, it had the 3 applicants and then it was a bit disjointed and whatever. In relation to I consent, well, there's 3 parties there, but anyway, that's another issue in a moment. So regardless, I mean, I already thought, and as you would have, that, yeah, we can ask the tenants, suggest to the tenants, if they hadn't amended the form, that you can do separate applications, but we need direction. And people want to do the right thing. Our sector wants to do the right thing. So when the government want to put forms in like this, of course, that's what we're seeking, is actual direction. Now, one of the things, I just want to look back just for a quick moment. It's really unfortunate that the new LNP housing minister, who's not so much new now, it's been about 6 months or 5 months coming up, never responded to my communique and follow-ups from the 22nd of February about this major issue in the industry. And of course, the whole homelessness, housing crisis, rental crisis and more. So I'll leave that be, that's done. And noted, that's fine. But it's just unfortunate in democracy that people in these positions that are elected don't respond to people in relation to important matters that affect their portfolio and our industry. Now, secondly, again, I thank the RTA. I just want to acknowledge that I think the RTA is restricted in what they can and can't do and can't say. Now, policy used to be part of the RTA forever ago, right? It was taken out of RTA a long time ago and put into the higher echelon, if I may say, direct with the Minister, Department of Housing and Policy, being my strong background and also my current and what I do and advocate for my members particularly, but also my industry when it matters like this. Policy can be difficult to get a hold of and or responses from. Whereas a long time ago it wasn't quite like that. So things change, and I must just acknowledge, I think the RTA educators and the advisors and what we get from there, and the education and implementation part, obviously, like all of us, doing the best they can with what they've got. So there's a few restrictions because we need the policy, but alas, we've got to move forward, which is what I'm doing, and a few things I want to talk to you about now. So we're yet to see the updated RTA application form. I don't think it's going to be to the extent that we would like. I believe it's going to say multiple applicants can do separate applications. That's great. Now, because of the legislation and because of the reasons I've already said, there's going to be possibly some things that we're going to have to deal with industry-wise, and with always the focus on obviously compliance, legislation, best practice, but also the risk management. And I've just got a couple of notes here that I just want to identify that I'm working through, particularly members. Today's the 2nd of April, so time's still on our side, and we'll get these answers together as, again, we're learning with you. and as problem solvers for you and with you. We'll get there. But so basically the concerns that we'll have to address outside of the updated Form 22 is the Privacy Act and best practice in relation to the privacy consent and disclosure. That will have to be a separate best practice document to the application form. Because the RTA only look after the Residential Tenancies and Rooming Accommodation Act, the RTRA Act, they of course don't deal with other legislation. Okay, I do note they have mentioned human rights and anti-discrimination, which is great because that's not their forte. But of course it's relevant in relation to, I guess, a government matter of education. So we'll have to have best practice separate documents for applicants. Now, this is going to be a slightly, I think, painful. I hope to be wrong. But if a tenant gets the application form from the RTA website, for example, they'll have to also complete your best practice risk management privacy disclosure, which also I must just add a couple of things. So that's obviously consent to check referees, tenancy databases. Now, on the note of referees, we know that the Section 57, which is a restriction section, a new section's commencing May 1, is where it says we can't ask a prospective tenant about breaches, rental bond history and more. Now, the RTA in the recent week or so have released a Q&A and reconfirmed that in the email to me yesterday, but those restrictions don't apply to referees. Now, one of the things that I need to work through, because this is just all unfolding with you, and I just want to flag it for you, and obviously that for all of us to consider, and members, of course, in the coming weeks, Melissa and I will be working through this together for you and with you. Okay, again, this is new for all of us. But the referees, now on the RTA Form 22 that was dropped with surprise, that's due for the amendment, which I think is minimal, but it's important. There's provision there to put the agent details on, their name and contact. And then it has referee 1, referee 2. So one of my questions to the RTA previously was, is that agent a referee or not? Which I've yet to qualify that completely. And of course, like you, we need to get it right, and we want to. So if the tenant nominates the agent in the agent box in the current version, and then puts referee, Bobby Blue from, the pub down the road, known him 20 years, and then, Sally Jane, who's my, I shop with, whatever. So they're the referees. But is the agent the referee as well? The restrictions of not being able to ask rental bond history breaches and that matter does not apply to referees. Again, we need to clarify what is the referees. So the approved occupant detail. Now, this is something we're going to have to deal with practically because in the RTA response yesterday, the 1st of April, they've ended that and basically it will be as is. The Act doesn't allow for more information is part of their response. And I frustratingly understand that and their response. So I'm working with you and my brains with the compliance first, always what's the law, and then obviously risk management best practice coming. So is it going to be a situation where a tenant applies on the new RTA Form 22 and says there's 3 approved occupants and submits their application? Are we then going to have to say, okay, that's great, those 3 approved occupants that you've noted, we're going to need more details. So they're going to need, as a practice issue, as part of the owner's risk profile and the owner's instructions, to complete an application form, as they've long been required to do. So that's going to hold up processing applications, hold up people trying to find a home, because we've got the privacy consent and the disclosure and all that's needed that has been decades in our industry as part of privacy law and best practice. We've also got approved occupants. We need to fact find the situation. Also then go into best practice risk management in relation to asking more questions, and that is going to hold up the process. So look, we've got this as always. It's been a bit frustrating for us, but hey, nothing worthwhile is easy, they say. But it's just, I will say, it's just regrettable that this wasn't canned by the LNP government. There's so many issues that have not been listened to, but we have to move forward and work with it the best we can, within compliance the best we can. Remember, if it's not in writing, it don't exist. Be careful with phone calls, text messaging to prospective tenants and stuff. Put in emails, get their email addresses, and have clear record of communique and requests, all within compliance. So members, you know that we're working behind the scenes on some of these issues I've just raised that will be solved in some way, because everything's solvable. It just takes sometimes a bit of time. So thank you for joining me. Keep an eye on the RTA website. They'll drop the amendment with, I think, minimal but also substantial change. I don't know when, but no doubt soon, as they're calling on the industry to get used to the form and to encourage use prior to the laws commencing May 1, 2025. So thank you again for joining me for this long video today. As I say, things can't be done in a short time when there's important messaging and communication and understanding together. So this is Stacey Holt from Real Estate Excellence, and bye for now.